Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to John Hall's Alaska. Today we are going to talk about a new experience in Alaska called the Platinum Catamaran experience. And it's really kind of exciting because so many people, like about 1.3 million people every year, go up to see Alaska on a big cruise ship. And they see the beauty of Alaska from 3, 4, 5 miles out. With the catamaran experience, you're going to be able to do it from 2, 3, 400 yards out, and really get some just incredible experiences in Alaska. So my name is John Hall Sr., and I actually made my first trip up to Alaska in 1955. This is 2021, so we're pretty close to our 40th year anniversary. That'll be next year. But 39 years of loving Alaska. I'm going to start out with a short video just to kind of do the outline of what the catamaran is for you folks. So just sit tight for a second and enjoy this.
John Hall's Alaska's signature small boat experience, the Platinum Catamaran, allows you to explore Alaska's Inside Passage by private day boat, with excursions into some of Southeast Alaska's most wildlife-rich and historic coastal areas. Fully guided by Alaska naturalists, by day, you'll enjoy amazing marine wildlife encounters, glacier viewing, and Alaska cultural experiences. Your evenings will be spent in port, rubbing elbows with the locals in Alaska's capital city of Juneau and in the beautiful port city of Sitka. With this Platinum Catamaran itinerary, we spend a full day touring Juneau, followed by an in-depth exploration of Glacier Bay National Park. Then we visit the gold rush town of Skagway, with whale watching in the afternoon. We spend a day in Icy Strait Point, then we sail to Sitka for a day of exploration by water. And one day spent touring the Russian history of Sitka. John Hall's Alaska is excited to offer this exclusive cruise vacation, which sails with only John Hall's Alaska guests on board and includes all meals and hotel overnights. Some activities have been included, with the option to add more should you so desire. Of the 1.4 million visitors to Southeast Alaska every summer, elevate your cruise adventure with this small group cruise experience that can be enjoyed as cruise only or paired with an interior land tour.
Well, that'll give you a little overview of what we're going to be talking about today. If you have any questions today, there's a tab at the bottom of your screen, a little green tab that says chat. Just type your questions in there, and my son John is on the other end, and he will be answering your questions. Or at the end of the program, we'll have a chance to ask those questions as well. So we'll kind of get moving a little bit. Like I said, there's about 1.4 million people a year that go to Alaska on an Alaska cruise, or they do a short land tour and paired with a cruise afterward. Bigger always isn't better when it comes to cruising, as we see. We do Royal Caribbean and Celebrity in conjunction with our land tours, and they basically go from Seward to Hubbard Glacier to Skagway, Juneau, Ketchikan, and then down to Vancouver. Of course, we have the luxury dining on the cruise ships. We have the spas on the cruise ships. We have the casinos on the cruise ships. What we're going to offer you today has none of the above. You're there to see Alaska. I've been on, I'm going to say, 50 Alaska cruises, and I've been to the Caribbean. I've been to Europe. I've been to the Mediterranean. the thing with the cruise ship is once you're on that cruise ship, it really doesn't make any difference whether you're in Alaska, Hawaii, Caribbean, the Mediterranean, because all the surroundings are all the same. We're going to change that for you with this catamaran. And let me introduce you to my full family. I know a lot of you are repeat visitors to either my in-person travel shows, which, by the way, I am so looking forward to getting back to that. I did get my first vaccination. Wasn't easy. I spent a week going within 300-mile radius of the villages in Florida where I am now. And I finally found a place that I had to drive a little bit to get it, but I'd go back on the 18th to get my second one. So my family is just wonderful. They're all involved in the business with me. And this is, of course, me. And that's my youngest daughter, Elizabeth. She's our chief operating officer. And this is Lauren. That's John's wife. Lauren is in charge of, she does all of our PR. She does our social media. She creates our catalog for printing. And she also handles our website. And you saw that video that we introduced. She's responsible for putting that together as well. So, and then John, of course, he and Lauren are in our Austin, Texas area. And then Joe is, he's in charge of our fleet operations, all of our motor coaches, and he's actually our resident accountant as well. So this is what makes up our entire family. This one, little Sadie, hasn't been to Alaska, but Emerson actually made his first trip when he was 8 years old last year with his father when he actually drove one of the tours. So that's how we got into the catamaran was somewhere in May or June last year. We were notified that the cruise ships were not going to be able to sail out of Canada. So we already had all our bookings done, and we were notified we're not going to have any cruise ships this year. So I think John, Joe, and Liz all got their heads together, and they came up with this the catamaran, so people could experience the southeast Alaska on a water, and that's actually how we developed this. So this year we actually have one trip going, and I think we're limited down to 5 or 6 spots on that right now. But it's next year we'll have a lot more. We'll be doing 4 or 5 departures on it in 2022 at least. But what we want you to do is we want to create a connection between you and the state of Alaska. And that's by using all of your senses, whether it's picking up a block of 1,500-year-old ice off a glacier, or sampling the Alaskan food that you'll be privileged to, seeing the sights, smelling the spray of the glaciers as you're calving. So we want to use all your 5 senses when we're showing you Alaska. And we cover all of the state. So we go all the way from Barrow, which is the northernmost point, down to Kodiak Island, down to Ketchikan Island, or Ketchikan. And we also cover the Yukon and, of course, the Alaska Highway from start to finish, which starts at Dawson Creek, and Canadian Rockies. But when people talk about Alaska, they have 3 major expectations. The first one is to see glaciers. And we're going to show you on this particular trip, you're going to see just incredible beauty of the glaciers, and close up, and you'll see the glacier calving as well. You're also going to see marine life and wildlife, and that is the second highest expectation. And the third one is the mountains and scenery. And when we cruise through Southeast Alaska, as I said, you're not going to be doing it from 3 or 4 miles out. You're going to be doing it from 300 or 400 yards out. And where we're going to take you is just unbelievable. You will wear out your camera taking pictures. It's that beautiful. So when we talk about the Platinum Alaska, it's a 7-day cruise. Now, as it said in the video, you can do that without the land tour, or we can pair it with the land tours, and those are on page 40. I think it's page 40 of our catalog, or 42. But you'll see down here the Grand Slam. You can pair it with, or the Denali Explorer. So, and then or if you're going to do just the catamaran only, that would be on August 27th. So you'd actually go in on August 26th, and you'd fly into Juneau. So, for example, if you were going to fly from Orlando Airport, so there's a flight. Alaska Airlines flies from Orlando to Seattle. You'd have a couple-hour layover in Seattle, and then fly to Juneau. And then coming back, you'd fly Sitka to Seattle, and then back to Orlando. So the one stop. Also, for example, from Minneapolis, it'd be Minneapolis to Seattle, and then Seattle to Juneau, and then Sitka, Juneau, or Sitka, Seattle, and back to Minneapolis. So, and Bridget in our office can arrange all of those flights for you to tie in with this. So, or you can do the land, so you'd fly into Anchorage and then out of Sitka on the way out. But it's a wonderful trip. You're going to be spending 7 days on a 40-passenger private vessel. It's all indoor downstairs. This is all enclosed for when we get wildlife, whales, sea lions, etc. There's a beautiful deck upstairs for unobstructed views. We're only going to have 40 people, and all of those 40 people are all of John Hall's Alaska passengers. So they all have blue jackets on with you. But this is what we're going to be spending our time on. Now, we don't sleep on here. We will be flying into Juneau. If you're doing a land tour first, you'd do a 7 or 8 day land, and then included in your trip would be the flight from Anchorage to Juneau. And then we'll go from Juneau to Glacier Bay for a day, and then back to Juneau for the night, then up to Skagway for the day, and back to Juneau for the night, and then to Icy Strait Point for the day, and then back to Juneau for the night. And then we'll spend 2 nights in Sitka when we go over there. So you're basically staying, we're hub and spoking, you will, out of Juneau and Sitka. But all the days are going to be just absolutely marvelous and spectacular scenery and marine life. So basically what we're going to do, I need to just change this a little bit. We're going to go. So we'll fly from your home city into Juneau. That's the capital city of Alaska. And the first day we will go out of Juneau up the Gastineau Channel, and we're going to go up into this area right through here is just wildly known for whales. This is Point Adolphus here, and then the entrance to Glacier Bay. So go into Glacier Bay, we'll come into Bartlett Cove, that's where the lodge is, and then we'll go up, we'll visit Margarine Glacier, Grand Pacific Glacier, and then we'll come back in John Hopkins Glacier, and then come back down around and back into the Gastineau Channel and into Juneau for the evening. The next morning after breakfast, we'll come out of Juneau and go. This is, to me, the most beautiful trip up in Alaska, for the Southeast Alaska. This is called the Lynn Canal. And there's literally hundreds of waterfalls that we'll be viewing on the way up. Again, we're going right close to the shoreline, so you're going to get some just remarkable scenery. And then we'll go into the 1898 gold rush city of Skagway. Spend the day in Skagway, and then we'll come back out, back down into the Gaston Channel and into Juneau. Overnighting again. The next morning, we're going to come out and we're going to go over to Icy Strait Point, which is right in there. And Hoona and Icy Strait Point are native Tlingit community. That's one of the southeast native tribes. And we'll spend the day there, and then we'll come back, do some whale watching, and then back into Juneau. The following morning, then after breakfast, we're going to change our route a little bit. We're going to come out, and we're going to actually go down. This is Chatham Strait right through here, another great whale watching area. And then we'll cut up through this is the Peril Strait going up this through here. We'll come down through these narrows and right down into the old capital of Alaska, which is Sitka. And we're going to spend the next 2 nights in Sitka, or possibly 3 or 4 if you want to add some additional time on it. But that's the route, all of that beautiful waters. I always get the question, are we going to get seasick? No, because this whole area that we're going up is all protected waters. You're not going into any, this is your open waters in through here, down through here. So you're all protected waters, no rough seas, kind of like going down the Mississippi River, as I like to tell people, or the Ohio River, or the Yukon River. So we'll start the trip out in Juneau. That's Alaska's capital city. And you'll notice a lot of the people in these photos have those blue jackets on, and that's a tradition of our company. Those are the Alaska state flag colors, are blue and gold. And you'll have your name embroidered into them. Can't quite see it, but there's one right over here. There's that embroidered name on it. And then you'll have John Hall's Alaska that's embroidered over on this side. And then the back of the jacket is the Alaska state flag, which is the Big Dipper and North Star. And then it'll say Alaska 2021 or 2022, or whichever year you're actually going. But you're going to spend, like I say, you're going to have 3 or 4 nights in Juneau. So you'll have a lot of time. We'll have great dining in Juneau. The Red Dog Saloon is always kind of the place to be seen in Juneau. It's a lot of fun. It's an old kind of a honky-tonk ragtime piano bar, but it's really a lot of fun. T-shirts and hats, etc., are also available. They used to have a place called, I can't think of the name of it, was in conjunction with it, but they had a hamburger. I'm not exaggerating. The hamburger was as big as a plate. And my son John and I went in there, oh God, it had to be 2013 or somewhere in that area, 2012, 2013. And we both ordered one and we ate it. And of course they get a huge serving of French fried potatoes as well. And we went back to the ship, and we slept for about 4 hours after that. But you have to go to the Red Dog Saloon. It's really, really a lot of fun. Unfortunately, the hamburger isn't in existence. I think it was called the Cookhouse, but it's not in existence anymore. You'll be spending 4 nights at the Aspen Hotel, which is kind of a hotel with hotel rooms with suites. They all have microwave refrigerators, dining tables in them, etc. So you're going to spend 4 nights at this hotel. Very comfortable, very, very large rooms, if you will. Either 2 queen beds or a king size available. So we're also going to include all the activities, visiting Mendenhall Glacier, for example, seeing the glacier, the waterfalls. Glacier Gardens is an incredible visit. You're going to see all of the beauty of the flowers that they grow in Alaska. Just how they have this design. It's actually one of the highlights of Juneau, and so many people actually miss it. It's just a wonderful spot. We'll also take you up and do a walking tour, taking you through the state capitol, of course. And then this is the oldest Russian Orthodox church in the state of Alaska. It's St. Nicholas Cathedral. They were going through a renovation here, so they're pouring a new foundation. They put a new steeple on it a couple years ago as well. But it's really an interesting church to visit, to see how the Russian Orthodox worship it. You'll never see a chair in these churches. They did all their worship standing up, if you will. So day 2, we're going to leave Juneau and we're going to visit Glacier Bay. And how you're going to see Glacier Bay is totally different than if you ever did Glacier Bay on a cruise ship. Because as I said, we're going to take you places that the cruise ships can't go into. Glacier Bay is just a marvelous day, specifically on this small boat, because we're going to be able to get into the nooks and crannies, hopefully see some wildlife in there. There's a large population of brown bears around that area because they come down and feed off the salmon. But it's a beautiful trip. So we're going to come in from Juneau. As I said, this whole area is just a wonderful area for whale watching. So we'll come in. Glacier Bay Lodge is right over here in Bartlett Cove. You'll actually see one of the clan houses there. And then we'll start our procedure going up, our journey up north. We're going to go up and visit some of the glaciers on the way up. The largest glaciers up here are Grand Pacific and the Margarine glaciers. They're about 400 feet high, and they do some pretty incredible calving. One of the really unique features is we're going to come down into Johns Hopkins Glacier, and this is Johns Hopkins Glacier right here. But you'll notice, if you can read that, cruise ships are not allowed in there, only I think 1 or 2 weeks a year. The small boats can go in because the reason for that is that's a breeding ground for the harbor seals, and the seal pups are in there. So we're going to get a chance to experience those that none of the cruise ship passengers actually get a chance to. With that small boat, we can get right up close to them. It's really quite incredible. And then we'll come back down, visit some more marine life on the way down, back into the whale watching area, and then back into Juneau for the evening. Again, that area that we're going through, some of those areas are just incredibly packed with whales. And hopefully you're going to be able to experience a bubble feed. And that's where a pod of humpback whales actually comes across a school of bait fish. And what they do is they dive below the bait fish and they release their air, and it will actually form a circle of bubbles around. And what that does is it confuses the bait fish. They all get into a tight ball, if you will. And then on command, all 7 or 8 of those whales come out of the water with their mouth open to feed on them. And that's called a bubble net or a bubble feed, if you will. And I'm not going to guarantee you'll see one, but when John and I were on our first small boat experience up in down in Peril Strait, we saw 12 of those in one day. I'm not going to guarantee you'll see one, but when you do, we get some great experiences with that catamaran because we're so close and the views that you'll see them. As we go in, we'll stop and say at the Glacier Bay Lodge. I'm not sure we'll disembark. When I was there last year, 2 years ago, the lodge wasn't open. They were refurbishing it. But you're also going to see a clan house, and that's for a gathering spot for the Tlingit ceremonial celebrations, if you will. This was actually carved down in Huna. It took them years and years and years. Each one of those panels was carved individually and then put together, shipped up to Glacier Bay and reassembled it into this beautiful clan house. I'm not sure if when we were there 2 years ago, it wasn't open, but I'm not sure what the situation is going to be this year and next year. We'll just have to play it by ear. But if it's open, we can, with that small boat, there's a dock, we can get off the dock and go in and view the interior of it. It's really wonderful and makes a great photo opportunity as well. Again, Glacier Bay is, there's a lot of brown bears in that area. And with the ability for the catamaran to get up close to the shores, we'll be able to get some expanded time viewing the wildlife. John Hopkins Glacier, like I said, that's the one that's closed off to the cruise ships, with the exception of a couple weeks a year. The small boats, such as the catamaran, we can get in there, and you'll see the icebergs that are floating with the seal pups up on top of them. But we'll be able to get this close to it. It's a unique opportunity, not to be had on the large cruise ships, only on a small catamaran, if you will. Then we'll go up to Margarine Glacier and Grand Pacific Glacier. Those are two of the largest glaciers in Glacier Bay. And what we're seeing here is the beginning of a what we call glacier calving. And that's when these pieces break off of the face of the glacier and come crashing down into the sea. So the ability again for the small boat is we can get a little bit closer than the cruise ships, and you can experience what this calving is. So it kind of is in slow motion. You'll see some more of it, and then when it hits the water, the natives call that white thunder, because believe me, it is loud. It sounds like a stick of dynamite going off when that. Let's say you've got 5 tons of ice that are breaking loose. Let's just say this piece right here breaks off. When that cascades down 300 feet, 400 feet into the water, when it hits, it makes an incredible explosion. And then, of course, you get the little wave that comes off. I'd say little, maybe it's a 3-foot wave from the glacier. It's great. It's a great experience. So we'll be able to experience that with them. We'll probably see 5 or 6 of the big glaciers in Glacier Bay. We'll go back into Juneau and spend that evening again. The next morning after breakfast, we're going to take probably the most beautiful trip in the Southeast Alaska waterway system. And that is, we're going to go up to Skagway and see some of the gold rush history. This will come out of Juneau and we'll go up into the Lynn Canal. And this is just one of the most beautiful trips I have taken through the Inside Passage of Alaska. It's like I said, hundreds of waterfalls coming down. You've got sheer cliffs on both sides, so it's like going through a fjord, if you will. Both sides, no matter how you look, and it's not that wide, you're going to see just incredible scenery. So we'll go up to Skagway, and Skagway is the home of basically of the 1898 gold rush journey. So people came from Seattle, they came up the Inside Passage, up the Lynn Canal, and into Skagway. And then they went up over the Chillicoot Pass up to Whitehorse. And this is where all of those thousands of miners lost their lives because of the winter of 98. What they didn't know is when they got to the Yukon, they had to have 2 days provisions of food or 1,000 pounds of food. So obviously they didn't carry that the first time, so they dropped their supplies. They had to go back to Skagway, reprovision, and then back up again. So that second and third trip, people they were just was exhausting to the gold seekers, and many of them perished over that. So we're going to spend some time in Skagway. It's all still got the old wooden sidewalks. The old buildings are there. A lot of history in Skagway. This is actually it was the Camp Skagway office. It was then the Chamber of Commerce office, but this is actually goes back to 1899 is when that building was built, and they call it the Stick House because it's all made out of small. The face of it is all small timber, if you will. But a lot of history. The old Red Onion Saloon, which was one of the well-known brothels of Skagway. You can kind of see the old-time girls up in the windows. It's fun to go in there and have a glass of beer or iced tea, or just to kind of reacquaint yourself with the gold rush days. Whoops, going back the wrong way here. Whoops. Another option is to take the Skagway Streetcar Company, and that's an old-fashioned streetcar. It'll take you on about an hour and a half to 2 hour guided tour of Skagway, pointing out all the historical buildings and the history and the characters of those days, which are quite interesting. They'll also take you out to the Gold Rush Cemetery. And there's two prominent figures from the 1898 days. One of them was Jeff or Soapy Smith, who came up from Seattle he was a schemer, and he was going to bilk all the miners out of all their good fortune if they were lucky enough to have it. The other one was Frank Reed, who was the sheriff, or the counselor. I can't think of the name of him. Anyway, he was like a sheriff, if you will, of the town. And this is actually Frank Reed's gravesite. He's probably the most prominent person in the 1898 gold rush days. But these are, again, two of our passengers that are touring the Gold Rush Cemetery. Also, as we were touring, these are some of the old original buildings. This is the House of Notable Affection, established in 1898. There was quite a few of those actually in Skagway in its day. And then this is Soapy Smith's parlor. Jeff Smith, as they called him, or Soapy Smith, one of the two. Great history as we walk around the city of Skagway. There's also an incredible show that I can't recommend it highly enough. If you read Alaska by Jim Michener, you'll understand what I'm talking about when I talk about Frank Reed and Soapy Smith. But there's a great show. It's called The Trail of 98, and it's all about Frank Reed and Soapy Smith and their ways, and how Soapy was bilking all the miners out of all their profits, etc. So it's a great education about what Skagway was and the gold rush of 1898. And I highly recommend doing that, to attend that performance. There's also, of course, the White Pass and Yukon Railway, which goes up over the Chillicoot Trail. You could do a 3-hour trip, a 3.5-hour trip, 4-hour trip. So there's variants. They run about $95. Well, they did 2 years ago. Last year, obviously, we didn't go to Alaska. First time in 38 years, I didn't go to Alaska. So I guess there's a first for everything. But that's a great experience, and you saw that in the video going up through the Chillicoot Pass as well. And this is again the train. It's all the old cars are just like they used to be with the old narrow gauge railroad that we'll be going through. So we'll go back into Juneau again for our final night. The next morning after breakfast, you're going to again go through some absolute beautiful country and territory. We're going to head over to Icy Strait Point, and that's. I'm sorry, I said our final night in Juneau. It's not our final night. It's our fourth day. So we're going to head over to Icy Strait Point, and that's a native Tlingit community. When we're traveling over there again, you'll see a lot of the local fishermen. They're seining for silver salmon, pink salmon, and possibly some king salmon as well. Again, we'll have views of hopefully humpback whales, orca whales. Hopefully you'll see a breach. And once that's actually the way they play. A humpback or orca whale's tail has the muscles in it, can propel them 10 to 15 feet in the air with just a simple swipe of their tail. They'll come shooting out of the water, and it's really pretty incredible to do it. Sometimes they'll do it in continuation 4, 5, 6 times, and then they'll just slap their tail on the water for a few minutes. So hopefully you'll get a chance to experience that as well. So Icy Strait Point is, as I said, is a native Tlingit community. And Tlingit is one of the prime Indian tribes down in southeast Alaska. So there's the Haidas, the Tlingit, there's Shishimian, and one other one I can't. I'll come to my mind here in a minute. But this is the Huna Packing Company, and that was a canning operation where they bring the fresh salmon in, run it through the cannery, and then ship the canned salmon down to Seattle. It's not an operation today, but all the machinery's in there, so you can go in there and walk through it and see how the operation actually worked. There's some really nice gift shops in there as well, with some nice jackets and hats that say Icy Strait Point and Huna, etc. You can pick up a keychain or a hat or whatever. But you're going to get an introduction also to the Tlingits, and the Tlingits are very prominent. We've always seen totem poles across Alaska. The totem poles are primarily a Southeast Alaska tradition. The Tlingits and Shishimian and Haidas, they create these. They also create those hand-carved canoes. They're very colorful. Their capes are red and black, and as you can see here, the ceremonial centers like the one we saw at Glacier Bay is where they have their ceremonies and gatherings, etc. And you'll see one of the beautiful ones in right in Icy Strait Point to visit as well. So we'll get familiarized with the customs of the Tlingit tribe. And another neat thing in Icy Strait Point is it's actually the longest zip line in North America. It used to take us 45 minutes to get up by bus. So you'd ride up to the top of this mountain, you'd get in that in the seat, and they release you, and it took you about 90 seconds to come down. You're actually traveling at pretty close to 60 miles an hour. So like you see, you got 5,300 feet in 70 seconds that you're going down. It's really quite exciting as you reach the bottom. You can see people are pretty relaxed now, and the first 2 seconds or 10 seconds when you're released, you're kind of dropping straight down, and then you level out a little bit. But it's fun. But you can see the expression on our clients' faces that they had a great time doing it. So it's something to keep in mind. You can do that as well. I believe the cost 2 years ago was $95 to do that. I'm not sure what it's going to be in 2021, 22. But so then we'll go back into Sitka, spend our into Juneau. We'll spend our last night in Juneau. The following morning, we're going to go back out and we're going to go down to Sitka. So we're going to go south now, down the Chatham Strait and into the Peril Straits over to towards Sitka. So we'll do some wildlife cruising. This is the Northwestern, which is one of the boats that's used in, if you've watched The Deadliest Catch at all. We were actually fortunate. We saw 2 of those over around Sitka. We saw the Northwestern and we saw the Time Bandit. Jonathan and his son were on that. So we'll come down. You're going to see some incredible wildlife as we go through the narrows of the Peril Strait and down south into Sitka. Really some beautiful. And you're going to see so many eagles. You're going to think that they're like sparrows because there's so many eagles. When we're looking across and into the trees, they tell us to look for a golf ball in a tree because that's what you'll see is the eagle's head. You'll also see the puffins. There's 2 types of puffins. There's the horned puffin and a wing puffin, if you will. Sea lions. You'll see a lot of sea lions as we come through the inside passage and head south, and also sea otters. And sea otters are an interesting animal. They have the warmest pelt known to man. There's roughly 1 million hairs per square inch on a sea otter. That's why the pelts are so valuable. And that's why the Russians valued Alaska so much, was because of the sea otter population. Well, they almost made them extinct because they farmed and hunted them so much. So when they sold Alaska to us for $7,300,000, they didn't think it was worth anything because the sea otters were all gone. Well, they didn't know about oil and gold and and a lot of other things in those days. So $7 million today won't even buy you a high-class hotel, let alone the state of Alaska with 6,600,000 square miles. But you're going to see a lot of this. Also, we're into the whale country again, going down through Peril Strait. Humpback whales, orca whales, primarily humpback whales in this area. So we'll come into Sitka, and Sitka was the original Russian capital of Alaska. When we purchased Alaska, The signing of the documents were actually done on Cathedral Hill in Sitka, and that's right downtown. So you can visit that. You'll see all the cornerstones of statehood of us buying Alaska from the Russians for $7,300,000. There's a lot of Russian history here. Then there was the Battle of the Tlinkits and the Russians. There's a national park, actually a park set up with the totem poles, etc., to kind of give us the history of that battle as well. So we're going to spend 2 days in Sitka. Sitka is absolutely a beautiful city. I'm going to say it's probably my most favorite city in Alaska. It kind of is surrounded by Mount Edgecombe, and that's as you can see from the top, that was a very active volcano. And on April Fool's Day, I don't remember how many years ago it was, but I'm going to say at least 30 years ago, one of the pranksters in Sitka flew a bunch of debris up into the cavity and ignited it, and smoke started coming out of Mount Edgecombe, and everybody thought that Mount Edgecombe was going to erupt again. But it was an April Fool's joke by this very well-known prankster in Sitka, and it got everybody's attention. And I believe he got heavily fined for that little episode. But Sitka is a beautiful city. You'll be spending 2 nights at the Aspen Suites again. And again, these are very comfortable rooms, 2 queen beds or a king-size bed, whichever you have. And then it has a full-size refrigerator, microwave, sink, dishes, etc. in it, and a dining table as well. So we'll be 2 nights in Sitka. A couple places we'll take you over to Sitka is the Rapture Center. And that's a very interesting tour. Basically, what they do is they repair, or they take birds of prey, eagles, puffins, owls, etc., that have been injured, and they reconstruct them. They have a surgery center there. They get them bring them back to life. And if they're able to release them into the wild, they do so. If they're not, they keep them as a display animal, such as this owl. So they have quite a few big penned-in areas. So, for example, if they can't fly, there might be 8-foot-high fences around that you can see through their wire mesh fences. But they're in forests, so they're in their natural habitat, but they just won't be able to fly out. If they do fly out, God bless them. That's what they're there for. They try to rehabilitate them. But it's really wonderful. They'll give us a guided tour through there. You'll see eagles. They usually have 6 or 7 eagles on display, such as this. There's a young or immature eagle that it takes them about 2 years for that head and tail feathers to turn white. Then you'll know it's a full-grown eagle. But they're very well trained, and very interesting, very intelligent animal. That to be able to get some real close-up photographs of these raptors, if you will. Then we're also going to take you over to the Fortress of Bears, and that is, I think, all of our passengers that go into Sitka, they highlight this as one of their favorite activities. It's all bears that have been rescued. If they were when they were cubs, they've fed them, nurtured them, and brought them into the fortress. So they're used to the people being around them. It's just a great experience for you to see and experience the life of the bears. It's just great. So after 2 days in Sitka, we'll actually also be able to link yourself in with the Russian theology, if you will. This is St. Michael's Cathedral. It's the largest Russian Orthodox church in the state of Alaska. And it was the bishop, the bishop of the Orthodox actually resides here. And it's a beautiful church. Part of it burned down some years ago and they rebuilt it, but it's just a marvelous church. We'll be able to go in and have a kind of a guided tour through it. The priest will be speaking to us, talking about all the artifacts and Russian portraits and stuff that came over. Now, Sitka is probably one of the best fishing spots that I've experienced in Alaska. I know my kids have found some better places, but I haven't. And what we recommend, if you're going to be doing a trip into Sitka, spend an extra day or two at the end of the trip, or if you're going in a day early, if you're doing just the cruise only, fly into Juneau, and then spend a couple of days extra in Sitka and go fishing. You'll have the chance to get king salmon, silver salmon, halibut, lingcod. It's just an absolutely incredible experience, and we've got some of the best guides in Sitka available to us.